reporting to you from behind enemy lines. I'm in the state of California. My name is Sean. Welcome to the Security and Investigations Leadership Channel. Thank you, everybody, for your support. If you guys would please share these videos and share them with pretty close to approaching 11,000 subscribers. It's a huge hallmark for this channel. Anyhow, I want to thank Mike from the Professional Security Journal for sending me a direct message on Instagram. And by the way, I am on Instagram under The Firearms Trainer. The Firearms Trainer. That's a place that you could connect with me. It's a place where you can see what the latest course offerings are. It's another place that's not YouTube. Going back to, did I say that I'm under the Firearms Trainer? Yeah, I just said that. So anyhow, Mike from the Professional Security Journal sent me a link to another Instagram page that talks about the newest and latest laws in regards to CCW, concealed carry permits in California. The 9th District made some crazy ruling. And if you're wondering what the 9th District, what bearing do they have on your life? Well, if you're located somewhere on the western seaboard states, and I believe, I don't know if Arizona is included. I'm not sure. I think Las Vegas. I keep thinking Las Vegas is its own state. Nevada, like you Nevadians pronounce it. I think those states are 9th District. I'm not positive, but I know for a fact that the western seaboard states of the United States of America fall into the 9th District. Anyhow, the ruling came out, and it's really a loss. It's an idiotic move for California, for the state of California, the executive branch, and it is a loss. It is a loss for Californians. Now, I'll go into some specifics because I actually brought the page with me. I brought the document, the formal document from the Attorney General, and I'm going to actually read it to you almost verbatim. But I guess the part that wasn't really thought over was Attorney General fought this case and brought it to the 9th District. The problem with that is that when a case goes to the 9th District, it could potentially make its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So if the 9th District Court, if they end up making a ruling on a case, well, the case can be appealed, and then the next stage is the U.S. Supreme Court. And the idiotic move on this California state part would be that if it goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court makes a ruling, it's basically involves the law. That ruling involves the law of the land. That is the ruling. So all of the liberal Democrat pushing states, they would be bound by the U.S. Supreme Court decision. So I don't think it's really a wise idea to bring something to the 9th District. But the California Attorney General, in his infinite wisdom, decided to do that. Okay. We'll talk about the latest rulings in a minute. But I want to talk real quick about those of you who are in law enforcement. If you're in law enforcement and you're out there stalking CCW holders, like you know that they have a CCW and they're passing by a school district, or they are, they're entering a parking lot, I think, where alcoholic beverages are being sold. They're just passing through, and you know that they have a CCW, and you just want to stat, like you just want to make a hook. Or if, let's just say, there's a CCW holder and that person enters fish and game land, right? And then you're just trying to really push this law forward and just to try to get stat, you are a loser. You are a loser law enforcement officer. You are infringing on one's right to bear arms. Clearly, you are a loser. law enforcement officer, you cannot get a valid arrest. You suck. You're a coward. You suck. You can't go out there and get the big boys, right? You can't get the big game because you have to depend on these weak laws. Now, I can't go on camera and say, because, my First Amendment right is suppressed because I am technically a member of the government. But I can't go here and telling law enforcement to not enforce these laws. Like I can't do that. I wouldn't last long on YouTube, and I would probably get internal affairs or something crazy like that. But I'm just saying that for those law enforcement officers that are really going out of their way to stalk these good American citizens, you are truly a loser. And again, that's my opinion. I'm not trying to prevent you from doing your job, but that's my opinion. My opinion probably doesn't matter. I'm one of 300 million plus people in America, right? So anyhow, let's talk about where this law is enforceable. So there's California Penal Code, and please share this video with other people. Just maybe you want to edit the part where I call these law enforcement officers losers. Just fast forward it, like, I don't know, 6 minutes. Okay, so now we're starting at California Penal Code 26230. The following 9 additional locations are now enforceable. So if a peace officer makes one of these arrests, it's a valid arrest. The case went to the 9th district. You cannot, so CCW permit holders or non-permit holders, they can't go to bars or restaurants that serve alcohol. And you can't go to the related parking areas. Playgrounds and youth centers and adjacent streets and sidewalks. Playgrounds. I mean, technically, I just violated like 2 or 3 of these sections. I mean, this is how stupid this is how stupid this is. The kicker is adjacent streets and sidewalks. Okay, parks, athletic areas, and athletic facilities, and adjacent streets and sidewalks. Again, I probably violated this like 5 times already today. Most real property under the control of Department of Parks and Recreation or the Department of Fish and Wildlife. No, I haven't passed any state parks. I'm sure you guys have. This is stupid. Casino and similar gambling establishments and related parking areas. I have worked tribal law enforcement, and we actually used to give people rides home. So if you won a lot of money, we would give you a ride home, or actually we give you an escort back to your house or wherever it is. So that's pretty neat, but I guess you get to depend on, and guys, there's no other security organization out there that is going to give you an escort. I mean, come on, look, if you won money from VS Casino in California, San Diego area, you think that they're going to drive you all the way to Los Angeles for an escort? Nah, that's not going to happen. So yeah, you can't even have your pew pew gun, whatever you want to call it. I don't even care anymore. You can't have that in your vehicle. Stadiums and arenas and related parking areas. Public libraries and related parking areas. You know what the kicker is? They put in parentheses and related areas. So that means and the related parking areas. Amusement parks, I mean, you really have a difficult time doing that. But it does say the related parking areas. So, oh my goodness, I have violated so many sections. I mean, obviously, I got an exemption, right? But on here, because in this section, they don't list any exemptions, right? You're going to have to look through the penal code to see if you have an exemption or not. And we'll talk about that towards the end. But seriously, the amusement parks, I mean, if you go to Disneyland, you can't leave your piece inside of the vehicle. Disney World's in Florida. Or Universal Studios, you can't just leave it in your car anymore. Zoos and museums, same thing. Okay, so here's additional 9 locations that are considered sensitive places. I'm sorry, this is 11. This is the number I just mentioned, or the list was 9. And this is 11. And these are areas that were never enjoined. But as a reminder, you cannot bring a CCW, you can't carry a concealed weapon even with a permit in these following areas: a school zone, preschool and child care facility, buildings under the control of an officer of the state executive or legislative branch. Heaven forbid that you're trying to take over a tyrannical government. You can't bring those weapons to those facilities. I'm not advocating to the overthrow of any government organization. I'm just saying, like, what if you had a tyrannical government, like China took over or something like that? I mean, it would be technically against the law to bring a firearm there. No local government buildings, no court buildings. So this is crazy. So what if you're trying to get a restraining order? You got a CCW, right? And then you go to the courthouse. You can't even, it looks like you can't even park in those areas. That's crazy. That is crazy. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was an active attack situation in the San Diego Harbor area where a security guard was stalking his victim. And the victim was on her way with her husband. So the stalker is the ex-boyfriend. Or maybe, ex-boyfriend. And then the actual, the other victim was the male, he was the husband, right? And the husband and the wife are trying to get a restraining order against this person, against the security guard, and the security guard ambushed both of them. And they got into a gunfight with, I think, San Diego Harbor police. But anyhow, if you're going to get a restraining order against somebody who's hell-bent on hurting you, that person has to follow Penal Code 26230, and so do you. So this person that's trying to end your life has to follow the penal code. This is just crazy. Local government buildings, adult and juvenile detention centers, college and universities. Because we all know that college and universities have sufficient armed staff. Oh wow, the list goes on. Airport and passenger vehicle terminals. Wow. Okay, I mean, this is a reminder for me. You can't even go in the terminal? Like where you park your cars with a firearm? That's not... Okay, all right. So I got a question, okay? You have to... Let's just say you want to go to the wonderful state of, I don't know, Nevada. And you're flying in from California. Yeah. And you want to bring your weapon. If you can't enter the terminal, well, how do you even bring your weapon into the airport? To be sent to another state? I don't even know. I really don't know. All right, property controlled by the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I'm not even going to say that some of these places make sense, but it is what it is. Police station. Honestly, guys, I really don't care. I mean, I worked in law enforcement for 2 decades. I honestly don't care if somebody walks into the police station with a firearm, as long as that they have a permit. But according to here, that's a problem. And then polling places is a problem. Okay, so hold on. So there's 6 provisions that remain enjoined, right? The following 6 locations in section 26230 remain subject to the preliminary injunction entered on December 20th of 2023. I'm not attorney, I'm not a lawyer, but I think here when they say preliminary injunction and they refer to these 6 locations, I believe according to this law, and I'm probably giving you wrong advice, you could bring a firearm into these facilities unless there's a policy in place that says you can't. Okay? The first one is hospital and medical facilities. And that includes the parking areas. Okay, so far you could bring your firearm there. But remember, some facilities have rules against bringing your CCW. Public transit. Well, that would make sense. You should be able to have a firearm on public transit. Not everybody can afford a vehicle. Public gatherings. So there's a public gathering, and then that requiring that gathering requires a permit. Then you could bring your firearm. Some of this just doesn't make sense. Like, why some things are banned and others are not. Places of worship. Any place of worship in the parking areas. As long as there's a sign that says license holders are permitted to carry firearms on the property. So if there's a sign, then you can bring your CCW. Financial institutions or parking. You have to be kidding me. Well, okay, I guess it kind of makes sense, right? You can bring, so right now you can bring a firearm to a parking area or financial institution. But you can't bring a firearm at a park where you can possibly be the victim of a drive-by. That just doesn't make any sense, man. All right, private property, open public. In all these places I'm naming, you can bring a firearm according to this law, and I'm not turning to my legal advice. Some of the information I gave you could possibly be wrong. Private property open to the public. Any other privately owned commercial establishment that's open to the public. So it looks like all of these areas that are private property open to the public, you can bring a CCW if there's a sign that says license holders are permitted to carry the firearms on the property. And there has to be specifics on the sign. It has to be 4 by 6 inches in size. So those are the exemptions right now. But remember, these are just these 6 areas I just mentioned are preliminary injunctions that can be removed at any point in time. And then the 11 places I mentioned, like school zones, local government buildings, colleges, you still can't carry a CCW there. And then there's 9 places that were contested by the law that are now enforceable, meaning that you're going to be arrested. You could potentially be arrested. And those were the first 9 I mentioned in the video. So that's all I have. And that's it. Make sure you guys watch this video in its entirety. I'm going to post a link to the information bulletin, and I want you guys to share that bulletin with as many people as you can. Comment about it. Contact your state legislator. That's all I got. Take care, guys.